Max, we do have some speakers who are just starting to get underway.
Thank you, Barbara.
Max, I still have you.
I was going to say, Kevin, you were out there at some of the protests earlier this week in San Francisco. Just the atmosphere appears very different, but it looks like Mayor Barbara Lee is actually on stage. Let's listen in there for just a moment.
Yeah, here we go.
People who understand that we have the right to protest, a right to make sure that our government is not unlawful, that it uplifts and supports the Constitution and does not break laws. Does not break laws. And you all know what you know what laws we're talking about, right? And I, just a moment of personal privilege, was born and raised in a border town in El Paso, Texas, in an immigrant community. And I know what it's like to be intimidated. And I know what it's like to be worried. And I know what it's like to be anxious about what could take place. So let's circle the wagons. Let's make sure that our immigrant community knows that we stand with them. And that we're not going to allow any outside interference in our community, and we're going to peacefully protest, right? We're going to uphold our constitutional rights, right? And we're going to repeat once again that we're going to protect our democracy, that we do not allow dictators in a democracy, because we are not going to allow this country, our great country, to devolve into an autocracy. And that's what we are pushing back on. Let's stand strong, and thank you for showing up, and thank you for showing out.
Barbara Lee speaks for me! Yes!
So, Max, that was Oakland Mayor Barbara Lee. She just spoke briefly there. Max, you were talking about, and you were asking what brought people out here personally. I think Mayor Lee summed it up right there in terms of what I'm hearing from a lot of people. She mentioned immigration rights, she mentioned the First Amendment, and she mentioned democracy as well. All of that under this umbrella of No King's Day.
And Kevin, finally for you, while you're out there, and it just looks like it's going to begin to march any moment now, I was trying to get to this earlier, you were out there in San Francisco when the initial protests after those ICE raids in Los Angeles broke out. The atmosphere there appeared to be very different than the atmosphere today of what we're seeing in Oakland and in San Francisco and elsewhere. Can you speak to the contrasting feels of that day versus today?
I think what I would point out is the protests we saw earlier in the week were for very, very specific causes: immigration rights, protecting immigration rights, increased ICE activity in California. Here, organizers here have been watching everything that's been happening out the week, and this has been a major focal point for them to make sure nothing violent could come up. And you even heard Mayor Barbara Lee mention it. She was getting the crowd up with all that energy, and she was saying, we are going to exercise our First Amendment right, and we're going to do it safely. Organizers here, as we've mentioned, they've been in touch with OPD, keeping things nonviolent in this current tone you're seeing right now at this indivisible protest in the East Bay, in San Francisco, all across the country. This has been a focal point for them because of everything we've seen here in San Francisco and across the country this week.
Kevin Coe live for us in Oakland this afternoon. Thank you for that. We'll check back in with you in a little bit once that protest really starts to get underway and the march begins. Kevin, thank you for your reporting there.